Hello and welcome to another edition of the Formula One Fans UK podcast. I'm Reese and joined today by
Dan
and Danny.
We're here after another brilliant British Grand Prix, which shows that you don't need to be a track architect to make a good racetrack. You just need an old airfield in the middle of the English countryside. And sure, it's been renovated over time, but Silverstone always delivers a brilliant race and some surprises. And I think that the nicest surprise of the weekend had to be that McLaren have genuine pace.
It was a little shocking to see how quick that McLaren was, but also very exciting when you consider how quick Lando's response time was versus Max. Like, what was it? 0.003 different of a second, and he just done him. Just like, see you later, Max.
No, it's nice to have multiple races now in a row. I know it's only 2 races in a row where Verstappen hasn't led every lap. It is showing that it is getting closer. Maybe it's not getting closer fast enough, but it's getting closer. And I think the most impressive thing about it was even after Lando did get overtaken, he was able to keep up with Max for a good number of laps and stay within DRS range.
But do you know what it reminded me of? It reminds me of when you see a cat playing with the mouse. Like, it doesn't quite kill it at that particular point, just plays with it. That's what Max reminds me of chasing Lando. Like, we knew he was going to get him, but he just played a little cat and mouse game with him first to make it look like, give us a bit of thrill and a bit of drama when he's inevitably gonna overtake him.
That's true, and I think, well, I say it's true. Kind of wasn't. I mean, he knew he had him, and he was being patient with it, but at the same time, he needed until he got within 0.4 of a second before DRS to have a chance of actually overtaking. That McLaren, it's got some serious straight line speed. It just shows that maybe it's not the Mercedes power unit that's the issue. It is actually the Mercedes car that is the issue with their straight line speed.
Yeah, you heard Hamilton make a comment, even Russell during the race, how that car's a rocket ship and how it handled the corners very well. Norris was able to pull out a gap on Hamilton through the fast, bendy parts around Maggots and Beckett's. And, it definitely held its pace against Red Bull, and it was great to see. Hopefully maybe in a different kind of track, maybe in Hungary, if we see Norris and Max in the front row. If we get a start like this, we could probably see McLaren keep the lead. But it was very exciting to see.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll be as competitive in Hungary, just because it's a tighter, twistier track. I think that's going to play more to the strengths of Mercedes and of Aston Martin. But what we've seen from two different, but yet, tracks that benefit the faster, straight line speed in Austria and in Silverstone, the McLaren has got some genuine pace and has been able to keep ahead of the others, and looks like the second fastest car on merit at these tracks where there is higher speed. So come Spa, come Monza, unless there's some other significant upgrade packages from other teams, this is what we can expect them to be.
I don't know. I really expected more from Alonso this week, because you go back to like this one, he come 7th. You had the Austrian 5th. Yeah, I think you gotta go back to like Canada and Monaco and that when he was in the podium again. But I expected their car to be a lot better here than what it was, but it hadn't really shown much pace other than I think it was in qualifying or FP3 where it was the rain dry changeover kind of times. Like they did well then, but then they just dropped off again.
No, I agree with you, Dan, but it just really wasn't a track that was going to suit Aston this weekend. I think when you see Alonso struggling, Stroll's going to be nowhere. And with Alonso and the Aston Martin, they said that they were running the lowest downforce spec that they had, but the car was still draggy, could be overtaken easily by a Mercedes under DRS, and it didn't look like it was going to be threatening anyone who was in front of it.
Yeah, that's a good problem to have for Aston, because you do have a couple more tracks left, some high-speed tracks, and pretty bold of Alonso to claim that he ended up in a podium in every single podium this year of the beginning of the year. He claimed that. We see Aston kind of slipping right now. McLaren made a big jump yeah, Ferrari are terrible because of their strategy, but they're still a decently quick team. Mercedes are still there in the hunt somehow. Alpine, yeah, they had a double retirement today, and he takes those guys out. Like Crofty said, it takes them out to the farm and brings them a drink because they're struggling. But Aston has a real problem with these results lately. Hamilton has caught up, standing, what, 15 something behind Alonso now? So sure.
Yeah, I mean Hamilton's caught up. Russell's catching up. There's a split between who's competitive and who's not competitive every weekend in terms of the race behind Verstappen. And it's quite good to see that we do go into these races having some idea of who's going to be the most competitive, but at the same time, we don't know for sure. I think McLaren was a surprise this weekend. There are times where Ferrari have looked like the best team, and times where Mercedes have been able to throw a surprise in. But of course, the biggest surprise I think for me this weekend was Alex Albon and Logan Sargent in the Williams. The Williams looked like it had genuine pace this weekend, which is a strange thing to say when it was up there, in the top three of practice on Friday, and then it was still competitive on Saturday's practice, and then qualifying both cars into Q2, Alex into Q3, and qualifying 8th, which he said after the race it was weird that his worst position in a session all weekend was a 8th place.
Yeah, stellar run from Williams this weekend. Great weekend for them. Albon looked really racy, especially at the end. He had those Ferraris on his back. Almost, he made a serious run at Alonso there at the end for a bit, but ultimately that didn't happen. But yeah, good play on Williams. Their car looked great as well, I believe. Really good livery for this race.
Yeah, and they're going to have a special livery as well later in the season, which has been fan voted. I'm going to say though, on liveries, McLaren should stick with chrome. The car looks so much better.
Yeah, that's what Ron Dennis would say.
I prefer it as the Golf one, but that's just me.
Yeah,
I like to be different.
The Golf one's like the pink Alpine, though, isn't it? It's because of sponsorship more than anything else. Where this chrome one was just a change of livery, which
sponsorship.
Yeah, it's still sponsorship. But I mean, like the Golf one was like, oh yeah, we are going to be your major sponsor for whatever this race is. You're going to have the Golf livery. But then, the Alpine, sorry, not the Alpine, the chrome. They just like say the McLaren in chrome. It needs to be in chrome.
What like the whole car? Just chrome the whole car.
Well, like it was this weekend, or it was in the in 2008 sort of season, 2009 season. That you make the whole thing papaya.
The papaya is nice. There was a recent poll in somewhere where I believe McLaren's colors were, or what you associate McLaren to be a color with, and I think papaya ended up in third, and most people said that chrome or the silver and or the red and white from the Marlboro and McLaren days. But no, I agree, man. Go back to that chrome. Their helmets, their tracksuits, everything looked. It didn't look so good in when they released images of it, but on track today, it looked pretty hot.
Yeah, that was one of the best things about it. It was just it had that feel of nostalgia, and it drove like the McLaren of the chrome days as well. It was competitive. It wasn't the modern McLaren Honda or the McLaren it's been at the start of this season or last season in the hands of Ricciardo. It looked like the real deal. I just hope it continues and that we could see one of these teams actually take the fight to Verstappen for more than 5 laps.
How are you going to do Ricciardo dirty like that, bro? That's mate. You woke up chose violence today, just absolute disrespect, mate. Ricciardo.
No.
Right.
He'll be in the Red Bull next season. I'm sorry for him.
Yeah. I laugh, but you're probably not wrong.
Yeah, let's talk about Perez, who has now 5 sessions in a row failed to make Q3, or 5 races in a row has failed to make Q3. When you are in the car that has had nearly every single pole position this season, you can't not get into Q3.
Yeah, he's really not having a good time, is he? He's not really not enjoying driving that car, no matter what he says. He's wildly off the pace. Like, I'm sorry, he should have been able to catch Russell in that Mercedes, and he should have got past Russell, then Piastri, and he should have been up on Lewis's ass. Because as much as I hate the little turd, if that had been Max, he would have been on the podium. Fact.
If that was Max, he probably would have won the race. If so very least podium. But it's just there's something up with Perez, and it seems like he says, "Oh yeah, I can bounce back now," but no, you can't bounce back if you can't qualify. You can't. You're making your life hard for yourself. You qualify, just get yourself into Q3, get yourself into the top 6. It doesn't matter if you're top 6, then you'll be able to pick off everyone at the start of the race. Have an easy P2. I know you need more than P2, but at the same time, you're not going to beat Verstappen in his current form.
Did he not make it into Q2, Q3 because was his track time deleted, or did he not make it out in time? I can't remember.
Last race was track lap time deleted. This race, too slow. He was 16th. I mean, the track was evolving. He was unfortunate, you could say, in the sense of, a lot of people improved. I mean, he did go up to P2 or P3 with his lap time, but then everyone else improved beyond him.
Oh yeah, the last like 3 minutes of that track evolution was absolutely insane. Speaking of qualifying, was it Q3 where Lewis was going incredibly slow when Max was behind him? Because apparently now Max can't turn right for whatever reason and hits the walls.
No, Verstappen hitting the wall was a case of he had understeer in coming out of the pit box. It was a case of
call it what you want.
He called it understeer. It probably did understeer because the thing is, if you're driving out into an environment like that, you could easily have warmer rear tires and front tires, and that could easily cause you to understeer. Of course, a bit embarrassing. And he had his blushes spared by the fact that it meant that he was the last car on track in Q3, and that did him a favour.
Yeah, but still, like, I'm pretty sure Lewis was playing a game and trying to make it so Max wasn't able to do his last lap. But that's just me. That's just what I saw.
He said that he had to overtake some cars, but I don't think anything was intentional. I think it was just one of these ones of, everyone wants to be the last car over the line, and so they push it to the limit of what's what, who gets there in time. And if you don't think someone's behind you, you're going to be slow.
You got to throw everything at Max so he doesn't get another qualifying, because he's almost automatic right now in qualifying. But Norris gave a good run.
I mean, there wasn't much different between the two on their qualifying laps, but where there was a difference, you could see the Red Bull just has that straight line speed advantage. It was 10 kilometers an hour faster on one straight, 8 kilometers an hour faster on another, 5 kilometers an hour faster at the end of the the Wellington Straight, I think it is. Yeah, after Bangers Brackets. It was just so much. Yeah, it's just that straight line speed makes the difference. Yeah, Hanger Straight, sorry. Someone who, of course, didn't struggle with speed. Oh, we've spoken about him already, but Alex Albon, I've got to bring him back up. I mean, he genuinely looked like a threat to Alonso at one point towards the end of the race. He, of course, slipped down the order from the start, but battled back in a Williams. I know we keep saying in a Williams like it's such a detrimental thing, but of course it has been the worst car for so long. So to see it now competitive, and even has a Sargent, of course, running just outside the points, and one more retirement, and then he could have had his first points in Formula One. As it is, he still sits on 0 with Nick De Vries. Yeah, Alex Albon, what a drive! I mean, if Lando Norris had a race where he just stayed in second all race, wasn't challenged, wasn't troubling Verstappen, wasn't troubled from behind, Alex Albon could have easily been the driver of the day.
There's some good competition today for driver of the day, though. Hamilton was up there, Piastri also.
Yeah, but Lando got 45% of the vote, and rightly so.
Even Perez went up. position. Did go up spots, but already talked about that. He should have ended up in the podium.
I didn't ever see him getting the podium today. I just feel like others had too much speed for him. I think also, I think the home crowd really does make a difference for the British drivers. I think it makes them a tenth of a lap faster.
Yeah, man. Being a top 5, and then Albon, top 10 as well. So,
Or top set. He was 7th, Albon, wasn't he? Was he 7th?
Oh, 8th.
8th.
Sorry, 8th, yeah.
But yeah, beating Ferrari on pace. Ferrari as well. We should talk about Ferrari. The Muppets.
Ferrari just like finishing together. I'm pretty sure that's what I think their strategy is, just to always get our cars like in front or behind each other. Because again, we cut them slack a few weeks ago, and now they're just back to fucking shit up, aren't they? They just
once again, the drivers wanted to call the strategy at points. I mean, Sainz was asking, if we pit now under the safety car, how many positions do we lose if we switch to soft tyres? Because he thought it was on the wrong tyre. And that was evidently the case. They were obviously on the wrong tyre, and it led to them slipping back, being uncompetitive, and lucky to finish in the points.
Speaking of a safety car, there was entirely too many laps behind that safety car for my liking. I'm sorry, what did we lose? 10 laps behind the safety car?
No, I don't think we lost that many.
It's got to be at least 8. It is.
I think it went on for a while because Silverstone's quite a long track, but I don't think we lost that many laps.
See, I don't know. I'm pretty sure we did, because
I think it gained 1 lap.
Gained? What do you mean gained 1 lap?
I think
like it was maybe a lap too long.
Oh, yeah.
I think there was a decision to go full safety car from virtual safety car took too long, and it should have just been straight to the full safety car, because that car was not in a recoverable position for a VSC.
Oh no, absolutely not. But again, that's the FIA just fumbling the ball again, isn't it? But I'm only judging this by when Lewis pitted, and when that safety car came in, he was in excess of 7 laps on his tyres. And I'm pretty sure it come out before he pitted. But I don't know.
I think he had to stop before that bridge. I think his worst fear would have been under the bridge with a fire. That could have led to a catastrophe there.
But it was a case of he just pulled over. I think he just ran out of speed. He had nowhere to go. He pulled over as quick as possible, didn't he?
Yeah, the car just cut off, didn't it? Just that was it. Nothing on the steering wheel, just done. It didn't even sound like there was any like noises and stuff before to give an inkling that it was even gonna go. It was crazy.
Gave no indication for a spectacular fire show.
It was 4 laps under the safety car, by the way. It came out on lap 34. It was announced it was coming out, and lap 38 it went back into the pits. I think it's just because it is that longer lap that it felt like it was a longer safety car period.
But was it one? Is that add the 1 lap under the virtual safety car? I feel like the one.
There was a bit of VSC, of course, as well. But that's a complete mute point, really. I mean, I just wish they did go to the full safety car first.
It wasn't. It was a needed safety car, though. Definitely shook things up.
Yeah, it definitely tightened the field up again. Verstappen absolutely nailed the restart. I don't think McLaren were helped by being on the hard tyre at the restart, but their speed was so good.
Yeah, they definitely played it safe. You heard immediately Max make a comment about the soft tires, and I think Hamilton only had really 4 good laps in them, and then after that, they were gone. He was complaining about his rears were gone as well. So just a very good strategy call compared to Ferrari's disaster strategy call, where feel like there's no decisiveness. It's either the engineer or the driver, and you have during the race questions being asked instead of a driver driving and strategist strategizing. But McLaren just did a great job today, man. Good job.
Yeah,
Ferrari choked.
Yeah, of course, Ferrari choked strategy, but I think it was very impressive the fact that even on the fresh softs, they were able to keep them behind. that was quite the sight. How quick they were on the hard tyres, especially considering how much Ferrari did struggle on them.
To be fair to Carlos, though, those were 10-lap-old hards. Something where this Ferrari strategy has to nail down. Rather go for the softer compound or newer hard tires, or at that point he had already gone through the required different tires, right? So he could have gone to anything in that safety car.
I mean, it looks like Ferrari powered cars have no race pace. They always seem like they're going to fall back.
Yeah.
The Ferraris, of course, they fell back. They started 4th and 5th. They finished, 9th and 10th. Haas always fall back. Alfa Romeo, they have no race pace. Yeah, it should be a cause for concern.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Did anyone see an Alfa Romeo? I know Joe had some issues with the car, but they're just making up the field.
Yeah, when they are making up the field, of course, at the same time, they failed to put enough fuel in the car.
That's savage. Like, just imagine being that shit of a team that you can't afford the fuel to put in the car to make it.
Well, they can afford the fuel. They just didn't put enough fuel in.
I know, but like,
it was in qualifying they underfueled Bottas, and that's why he stopped in Q2 at the end of Q3, and he didn't have enough fuel to provide a sample, so he was disqualified from qualifying and had to start last.
To be fair, if they didn't have bad luck, I don't think they'd have any luck. What were they, like 17th, 18th or something, weren't they?
I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it feels like they are waiting for the Audi investment.
I think 14th and 17th show ended last, right?
Yeah, I think so. Or was Hulkenberg last? I don't know. I didn't pay too much attention down the tail end, because for a nice change, they were actually showing us, action that was the midfield and up. We're not having to look at 17th, 18th, and 19th for a bit of action.
Yeah, but I think that was purely down to the safety car. That kind of spiced it up a bit when they finally threw the full safety car after waiting and waiting and waiting. Like, if people at home can look at it and go, they can't move that car, didn't they have to, in the end, cross the track, didn't they, to get it on the lorry?
No, it was absolutely fine. Magnussen pulled the car over to the left-hand side off the racing line, and they recovered it from off the track on the left-hand side, say, looking down the straight towards Brooklands.
Maybe what I saw in the coverage was another angle there. Maybe it was shooting down instead of to the way that they raced, maybe. I
don't know what you see sometimes, mate.
Mate, just so you know, since this podcast finishes, I'm going back through the Sky coverage and I'm going to screenshot that shit and I'm sending it to you, because, guys, if you could see the way they look at me like I'm some dementia dad that's just spouting nonsense. It's absolutely disrespectful, I tell you. It is.
Oh, no.
It's no longer Tin Hat Dan, it's Dementia Dan.
Mate, the problem is I'm not dementia enough to forget who you two are. So that's my problem.
That button at all? IQ, or what's it called?
I don't know what you're on about, mate.
Frosty says it on if you're a Sky customer, press the red button.
Oh, for Sky Q.
Yeah.
Sky Q or Sky Glass.
Yeah, it basically just takes you to every single onboard camera of the cars, and you can look at all the lap times and the data times and like all that sort of stuff. And you can they got a mode called battle mode. So if two cars are fighting, say like Alonso and Hamilton, you can have the rear of one car on one side and you can have the front of the other car on the other side, so you can see their battle. Blah, blah, blah. It is good, but it's really laggy though.
Yeah, the time difference is the thing. That's the thing. You watch any of these supposedly live alternate broadcasts, there's always a time delay, so you always feel like you're better off watching the original coverage.
Speaking of Hamilton, as I used him as a reference, didn't he break the record for the most F1 career podiums today?
He already held that record. So, yes, he broke it again.
Yeah, 195 or something, wasn't it?
I'm sure he already had the record, but...
Yeah, he did at 194.
So he broke the record. Well, congratulations,
also
Lewis
had the
Hamilton, on breaking your record.
uh, that was his 14th podium, and
yeah, I mean, how many drivers can say they've done and gone and had 14 podiums at a single track? I don't think there's anyone out there who can do that. Of course, we're talking about records being broken. One that was equalled was consecutive wins for a constructor, Red Bull. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's anyone catching them anytime soon. So, I mean, I said maybe Hungary or Singapore might be a race they don't win. So, it's all on McLaren or Aston or whoever to win next race to stop them breaking that record. Or they could do what Mercedes do and get cocky, run a custom livery and have an absolute shock of a race. I would prefer the second option, but, we don't always get what we wish for.
As a Mercedes fan, I would like Red Bull to employ Nico Rosberg, just so that he can carry up his antics and spice things up a bit.
I'm sorry, as a Mercedes fan?
Yeah, because if he does what he did to Lewis in 2016, he can get Perez back on the
I'm sorry, as a Mercedes fan? I never had you down as a Mercedes fan.
Okay, as a Lewis fan.
Who happens to also like George because he's British, because let's face it, you never really had much time for Bottas and you never had much time for Rosberg, did you?
Bottas was a fantastic number 2. Rosberg, on the other hand, I don't think for legal reasons I can get into how I feel about him anymore.
Rosberg wasn't that bad. Yeah, the rivalry was intense, but it was good to have a driver like Rosberg up there.
He always had a rivalry with his teammates, didn't he? I mean, the Mark Webber one was brilliant, which of course led to the words "Britney's crashed."
Where was that at? Was that in?
I don't remember where it was at, but of course it was. There weren't too many penalties this week, of course. Which made a nice change from last week. We're sat down recording the podcast, knowing the result and feeling very confident it's not going to change. The only driver who did look like he was going to get any penalties, however, was Lance Stroll. Of course, he got the 5-second penalty for causing a collision, taking Gasly out of the race. In my opinion, it could have been a stronger penalty. I know it was an accident, you could say, but at the same time, he took him out of the race. And in the past, we've seen 10-second penalties for that.
It didn't even look like that much of a big shunt on first viewing of the replay, because obviously on the live coverage, the first you'd realised anything had even happened was him just trying to control the car, because the whole wishbone or suspension had broken. But when they played it back, it didn't even look like that hard of a hit. I've seen
I don't know
hits than that and then keep going.
I mean, it looked like when they had the reverse angle looking at the front of the cars, from club, it looked like it was quite the whack from Stroll that you gave him. Of course, Stroll had his time limit issues as well. Track limit issues, and was on the borderline for those. He got a black and white flag for full track limits. But there was some inconsistency there because Bernard Mylander got away with some blatant track limits violations, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he got called out by Brundle on TV today. He definitely need to take those wide lines. He's every inch of that track. He can do it.
But it's not like he doesn't even have an excuse. He's going half the speed of the F1 cars through that corner.
Yeah, but he is driving it hard. That's the thing. The safety car has to drive hard. And maybe he can have some sympathy for the F1 drivers now when they go over their track limits.
To be fair, I had this conversation while I was watching it. I said every time that he's in the safety car, all you hear from the other drivers, or what you used to hear before we're not allowed to hear all of team radio, is them bitch going, he needs to go faster. Whereas he's you get to the cockpit shot and he's driving the shit out the car, and they're like, faster. You can't go no faster, bro. That's it.
That's exactly it. And if we go from track limits, we'll go from track limits to track limitless. And that's the limitless options that you can pretty much get from our show sponsor, Apex Tracks, on 3D printed track wall art. For all your 3D printed track wall art needs, head to apextracks.com. That's APEXTRAXS.com.
Well done, Reese. 3 weeks in a row. Well done. Mate, that transition was a 5-star transition, mate. That was A+, that one.
Yeah, that was like someone turning on their slide transitions. I didn't just go for dissolve there. I went for star wipe. All right, that was
Mate, Star Wipe and Dissolve are solid Star Wars transitions, mate. Like every time I watch a Star Wars film, I'm like, what in the Sony Vegas did they do? Like just the standard bulk transitions. Yeah,
The circle transition out in Star Wars was something else.
that was literally them trying to think outside the box. Oh shit, we've used this one transition for 920 frames. We need to change it.
Oh, I don't know. I hope we get some circle transitions in Brad Pitt's new movie.
How long we got till that comes out? Like 2 years or something like that, probably.
I have no idea. Of course, they were recording this weekend. For those who missed any of the interviews with Brad Pitt, the story is that he plays a retired driver who's coming out of retirement after the team owner, who was also his buddy, needs to find someone. He's got to roll the dice one last time. His team's struggling. He's got a young prodigy in Wonka, but the team is the worst team in Formula One. It's constantly 21st, 22nd. And the whole concept of it is that this guy is going to try and, rejuvenate the team in some way. Of course, he won't give too many details away. He has promised Martin Brundle a cameo. As long as that cameo is doing grid walk and trying to interview someone famous who then declines, even though they're not supposed to decline anymore, Cara Delevingne. Don't you listen to the podcast, but, have some respect for the legend that is Martin Brundle. All we're going to say.
Mate, I was going to say something and it's just fucking got me. I swear, I might have dementia, bro. Like, for real.
Bench me?
Mate, are you deaf, mate? Dementia.
Oh, hello and welcome to the Old People's Podcast. I'm Reese.
Wait, hold on.
I can't hear what I'm saying here. You'll have to speak louder. Let me get my hearing aids. That's Dan. We have to remind him that that's Dan. He struggles quite a bit. We were reminding him 3 or 4 times through the podcast. And then you've got the American who hasn't made it to the old age because he has to pay for private healthcare.
Yeah, Danny, good luck with that.
I'm dead already.
I'm dead.
Oh dear.
Before we move on, I just want to throw out a stat that I did see today, actually, that Lewis and Lando became the first British duo to finish on the podium in Silverstone in 24 years.
Do you know who the drivers were last time it happened?
I did, but now you're calling me out on it. I fucking have no idea.
Cool. Danny?
Yeah. David Coulthard and Eddie Irvine.
That's it.
No. Are we classing Coulthard as English, are we?
No, British.
British. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And as he was on the podium, he was British that race, and not Scottish.
Wait, Irvine's Northern Irish, right? From Northern Ireland?
Yeah. 2 Englishmen on the podium this time, though.
From Stevenage, and where's Lando from?
Good question. You wouldn't get it from how he talks, but he was actually born in Bristol, Lando Norris. He's from the West Country.
He's probably in one of the nicer parts. If he was from one of the other parts, you'd definitely hear it in his voice. What is next, Reese?
What's next? We could talk about, the British fans. Once again, they have shown up at the British Grand Prix and absolutely crushed it, put every single other fan base to shame. Of course, there was a bit of obvious muting of the crowd going on the post-qualifying interviews and post-race interviews. Of course, we say don't boo people. At the same time, everyone's entitled to their opinion. As Martin Brundle was saying, he said, oh, yeah, I know some of you don't like Max Verstappen. I like Max Verstappen, but you don't like Max Verstappen. You're entitled to that opinion. I was like, yeah, thank you, Martin. But more to the point, what other race, and it's a serious question, what other race can you watch on TV and hear the crowd over the cars and over the commentators? Because I swear you only get that at Silverstone.
On the driver's radio, you can hear the crowd in the background. And yeah, you're right. Only in Silverstone really you have the crowd noise elevated like that.
I think you could probably get it in Italy if Ferrari didn't suck.
Damn it.
But
that's what I was going to say. I was like, in Italy, when Ferrari are on form and not sucking ass, that Tifosi is loud.
That's where the 2 hardcore fan bases are. Of course, you have Max's Orange Army, but where was it? He had his Austria. Austria can be quite loud. European races, where you don't get crowd noise in when you had the last race of the season. Of course, I'm going to say 2021. You had a last lap overtake for the title, and you still didn't hear the crowd.
Again, I know we've spoke about circuits, and there is a one coming up about that, but it's a show circuit, isn't it? It's there because it's paid to be there. They're not hardcore fans like you see at many of these other races that we've described. It's a show money circuit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of these ones that pays more than others to be on the calendar, and you don't really have you can have local fans go there, but they're not going to be as passionate, as knowledgeable as the British fans, as the Italian fans. There's just this another level that you get between the British and the Italian fans, and yeah, that's one thing. And of course, you hear after the race in the interviews with Sky, you've got Alex Albon. He's telling everyone about how incredible it was. Like, he went on a Wednesday in the middle of the day, Wednesday evening, Piccadilly Circus, and had a great time with fans. I went to one of the fan events they had on yesterday. Granted, it was more to see some American footballers, but I went down and I went to the fan experience, and I tried out the Sims. I tried out the new F1 manager game, spoke to some of the developers there. I can say that there are some really cool new features coming to the F1 manager game. So for those who bought it last year and were sitting on the fence, I'd say, if you're leaning towards buying it, then buy it, because there's going to be some scenario based features in there where after each race they'll do an upload and say, can you do better than this? So it could be like today, can you from lap 20 onwards improve Ferrari strategy? Of course, won't be hard. You probably set that on any level and improve it. And also the tyre data and everything like that will be more in sync. It's going to be a lot better of a game, hopefully. That, and you haven't got the same crash animation for every single corner, which is good. There's going to be some diversity there. So, yeah, things are looking up on the F1 manager front for those who do play it. But for those, of course, who don't, we understand. I mean, as someone who owns it, I can see why there are some real skeptics out there for why you wouldn't want to buy the game. And I'm gonna wait a few months and see what everyone else says. But having tried it and it being a slightly older build, I'd say it's a crisper product. The graphics are better. It runs smoother. They've added a really cool new camera angle, which is the driver helmet cam. And yeah, well, they didn't make me sign the NDA, so I feel safe in telling you all this.
I've just figured out how you got your hat and your shirt.
Oh, the shirt I've always had.
Because you guaranteed to plug this F1 manager game. Hashtag not an ad.
Hashtag not an ad.
But it is an ad.
Yeah, not an ad. I'm just saying, if you're looking at buying the game, there's more reasons to buy it this year. If you're looking to wait and see how it goes, fair enough. But I have to say I've played it and it's definitely an improvement. I'm also going to say that those Fantech wheels, bloody hell, they are good. And I'm kind of jealous of anyone who's got one, like Chris, who never shows for the podcast anymore. Chris, we know you're listening. Get on the podcast. Otherwise, Dan's going to insult you in ways that we can't publish.
Chris, I had a really, really good comeback for Reese's segment then, but due to preserving our friendship, I'm not gonna say it. Preserving
the friendship, preserving the podcast. It's for the greater good that Dan shuts up here.
But on a serious note, Chris, you need to turn your fucking ass up to one of these, because I do miss your input, and I need someone to balance out me and Danny.
That's true. I need someone to, call me out occasionally on how it's not all bad being a Ferrari fan when it sucks.
It is, bro.
I'm not even a Ferrari fan. I just like Sainz. I in this position where he went from McLaren to Ferrari, and now look.
It's not great, is it? It's not great at all.
Why would anyone want to go to Ferrari apart from for the food?
Money.
And the money. Food, money.
And you get a Ferrari.
Better weather, you get a Ferrari. Okay, there's a few reasons to drive for Ferrari, but yet one of the reasons is not that being a part of the F1 team, because my gosh, we repeat ourselves here, but that was just some absolute shit show. But we do find ourselves repeating ourselves quite a lot, so I think it is time we wrap the podcast up here. If you've enjoyed listening to us and been able to withstand our repeating ourselves this week, there's a link in the bio of the podcast, and you'll be able to link that to all our socials, including, of course, the new Instagram replacement of Twitter, which is cool because I forgot the name of it. Danny?
Threads. It's called Threads.
It's called Threads. Yeah, we're on Threads as well. So there you go. We are with the times. We are down with the kids, despite being a deaf person, a man with dementia, and someone who's already dead. So until next time, thank you very much for listening. Cheerio, guys.
See you later, guys.
See you guys.